Hello, welcome everyone to Homestead How. Carrie here, along with semi-retired Bob. Welcome to the channel, Bob. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, other than a little on the warm side. How are you?
Likewise, it's 100 degrees here in Montello, Wisconsin today. I'm in the basement of the movie theater and I have the air conditioner cranked down here, and I'm scared to leave the area.
Yeah, it was today was the hottest day, but the humidity wasn't as bad. It was actually 100 degrees here today, but yesterday the heat index was 119 and today it was only 112. So it's quite a bit cooler today.
Wow, wow. And where are you located?
I'm in Omaha.
Omaha. Okay. Well, this is great. I've been looking forward to talking to you. I know we chatted the other day, a while back on I think it was the 10-hour live stream.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun, and it was just a brief encounter because we had quite a few people on there, but there were quite a few things you mentioned in that brief time that we had in common. So I was really looking forward to chatting with you some more. Would you mind maybe just taking us back a little bit, telling us a little bit about when you started Carnivore, kind of why, and the reasons behind it?
Sure. Of course, to understand my entire story, we have to start back in 1983 when I was discharged from the Army because I had gout.
Mm,
And the Army doctor told me the same thing that the civilian doctor told me when I got out is gout is a progressive disease. You're going to have it all your life. It's going to slowly get worse and worse, but here's what you do to keep it at bay. And it was basically the standard high fat or high carb diet. No meat. If you're going to eat meat, only have 2 ounces a couple of times a week, and make sure that it's chicken or fish. Never have pork or beef. So I followed that. They had a whole list of foods you were supposed to have and not supposed to have. So I followed that diet and realized that I was slowly getting heavier and heavier because every time I'd start, because we knew as fact that all you had to do to lose weight was to eat less and move more. So every time I started to eat less and move more, I'd get a gout attack, and that would set me back by a week or two. So I'd have to wait and start all over again. And it slowly snowballed over the next 30 plus years. Fast forward to, I believe it was 2009 or so when I was diagnosed with diabetes. And of course, the diabetes diet, very similar to the gout diet, just eat less, move more, don't eat meat, don't eat eggs, do all this other stuff. And all that advice got me was back 5.5 years ago, I had a triple bypass surgery.
mm,
And the heart recovery diet is basically the same thing as the diabetes diet, which is the same thing as the gout diet. And I did get better after my heart surgery, but I was slowly sinking again. And I was pretty much sitting around waiting to die because there was nothing I could do about it. I knew that this is just the lot I'd been given in life. And, I had heard about the keto diet, but every time I encountered it, I thought, well, gee, that sounds great, but it's not something I can do because I have gout. I can't eat a lot of meat. And I happened to be sitting down in North Carolina, turned on YouTube one day to kill some time, and a video by Dante Ferrigno popped up on my screen. I have no idea how it got there because I'm always, I'd always been a camping, homesteading, van life, travel, tourism photographer. That's the kind of thing that I was always interested on YouTube. And Dante Ferrigno's video popped up on my feed, and it said 125 days on the lion diet. Well, I didn't know what the heck the lion diet was, but I thought, well, this before and after picture looks pretty good, so I'm going to take a look at it. So I clicked onto his video, and didn't take very long to realize that this was just an extreme version of a ketogenic diet, which I can't do because I have gout. But because I'd watched some of his video, YouTube then hit me with this country doc from the middle of Tennessee. a guy by the name of Ken D. Berry.
Hmm.
I'd never heard of him before, but I saw that he was going live that evening. So I thought, well, this all sounds really good. And maybe since he's a doctor, he can tell me how to approach this with gout. So I logged into the YouTube and went to watch his live stream. And I got there about 10 minutes early, and there were already 2,000 people in the live stream. And I'm like, oh, gosh, I'm never going to get a question answered. But because I was there, I went ahead and typed in my question. And I said, I have gout. I can't do a carnivore diet. Is there a version of this diet I can do? If I had known it was going to be so successful, I would have written it down. I do know it was one of his female moderators, so it was either Paola or Mitzi. And they sent me back and said, Bob, meat does not cause gout. Here's the link to Dr. Berry's gout videos. You should go watch those. I'm like, what? What do you mean meat doesn't cause gout? I've known for a fact for 40 years that meat is what causes gout. So I went and I watched his videos, and I'm like, this can't be right. This just cannot be right. But because he's an old country boy from Appalachia like I am, he talks the way I talk, and he thinks a lot of the way I think. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to give it a try. The worst it can do is kill me, and I've got one foot in the grave already. So one day I was standard American diet, and it was the day before my 59th birthday that I decided I'm just going to do it. And I just went carnivore the next day. I don't recommend that, by the way. I recommend you make a slower transition into it because well, we may discuss some of the problems that come with that at some point tonight, but I don't suggest that. But the results have been just absolutely amazing.
It's so amazing hearing your story because, well, I didn't have the triple bypass, but I had horrible gout. But I found carnivore precisely the same way you did. Just Dante from Ferrigno Freedom. I love that man. His video popped up on my feed, and I was like, this guy is crazy. How's he going to only eat meat? And when I saw his video, it was I noticed it was from 2 years prior to when I was watching it. And so I was really cynical, and I'm like, there's no way this guy 2 years later is still eating meat. I'm like, haha, I'm gonna watch his most current video. So I clicked on his most current video, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. My jaw dropped. It just complete transformation. Doesn't even look like the same human. And then I went the same road as you, Bob. I was still like, this is crazy. There's no way I could do it. I started doing more research, and then I probably watched 100 Dr. Berry videos, and still trying to convince myself this was crazy. And I was thinking, oh, Dr. Berry, this guy's like a scam artist. He's pulling something. There's got to be something going on here. He's telling people to eat bacon. Like, what is going on with that? So that's crazy. So I'm sorry, you might have said this, but how long ago was that
I've been on the carnivore diet now for a little over 15 months. That was May the 9th that I started of last year. That's when I started, was May the 9th, because I had been in North Carolina and was actually found Dr. Berry as I was packing things up for the spring to head back here to Omaha for the summer. And I was stopping at my sister's house to visit with my sister and my mother, and didn't feel that it would be the correct thing to do to call my sister up the day before I got there and say, hey, I'm going to change my diet, so you have to go to the grocery store and buy me all meat now. So I waited until I got home. Since my refrigerator here in Omaha was completely empty when I got home, I got home late on the 8th, went out shopping that night because Walmart is open 24 hours down the street from me, stocked up on a bunch of meat and eggs, and I bought some lunch meat and some pepperoni and salami and all that kind of stuff. And I already had several cases of Spam here in the house. So that's what I started with.
And how was it? How was it your first couple of days, your first week or so?
Well, let's just say if you do the immediate transition, that you should probably not wander too far from the restroom, because you will have the need to run to the restroom, and it is sudden and explosive.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just leave it at that. I didn't think I was going to make it because it's like, man, this thing is tearing me up. But I sat down in front of my computer to make, I forget which one it was. It was like my semi-retired Bob Goes Carnivore, or it might have been the second video I made, but it was within the first couple of weeks. And I had set my note sheet for things I wanted to talk about down on the table to my left. And my left shoulder had been my bad shoulder for decades. And I saw my note sheet over there, and I reached over and grabbed it and started reading my notes without even thinking about it. And then I went, I just did that. My left arm moves again. I couldn't have done that. And that was just a couple of weeks into it. And things just started snowballing from there.
So with the arm getting better or the shoulder, do you think that was from inflammation or?
Well, part inflammation, part arthritis. I've been diagnosed, besides the heart disease and the heart surgery and the gout and the diabetes, I've had debilitating spinal stenosis and arthritis and high blood pressure and kidney disease and liver disease. I had the whole gambit of stuff that you get from getting slowly sicker over 40 years.
Right.
And it just started correcting itself.
So the first couple of days were kind of rough because you jumped into it a little bit too quickly, and then, but you stuck it out. Like, well, did you get a couple of days in and be like, this is too much, I'm in the bathroom all the time, this is too hard, or were you committed?
What I was committed because I had decided to myself that I'm going to do this for 30 days, because 30 days of just eating meat and eggs is either going to kill me or perhaps I'll get something good out of it. And, at that point, I didn't realize it at the time, but now that I'm beyond that and can look back at my mindset at the time, I was not in a good place mentally. I mean, I was literally sitting around the house waiting to die. And I figured, if it kills me, no great loss. It's not like I'm really living now anyway. I couldn't stand for more than 2 to 2.5 minutes without severe pain. I had to sit back down. I mean, when I stay downstairs, my bedroom is downstairs in the summertime, so I get more cool air. But then, like, when I would go upstairs to the kitchen to make coffee or food or whatever, I had to plan my trips upstairs, and I had a chair sitting right at the top of the stairs. And as soon as I got up the stairs, I had to sit down and rest for 15 or 20 minutes before I could move on to the kitchen and make coffee or do whatever it was I was going to do.
Right. And so what are some other things you started noticing while going through those first 30 days or so?
Well, other than my shoulder getting better, originally, like I said, my original goal, the reason I started it was because I was just looking to have a little bit of pain relief from my arthritis. And within the first month, I could stand in the kitchen and cook my burgers. I could stand there for 10 to 15 minutes, which was a huge improvement already. And I can't tell you exactly how much weight I lost in that first 30 days, because the first 2 weeks, I wasn't really expecting weight loss. I mean, over the course of the prior 40 years, I tried every diet there was. I mean, the grapefruit diet, the cabbage diet, the rice diet, Jenny Craig and Slim Fast and all of the stuff. And nothing worked because it's not sustainable. Because eventually those starvation diets, you get hungry and you eat. So what was the question? I just lost my train of thought.
Sure. No,
in the first
30 days, what other improvements did you notice?
Yeah, so I wasn't really planning on weight loss, but I noticed that my pants were starting to fit a little loose. And it was at that point I decided I better go step on the scale just to see where I was at. And at that point, I was at 315 pounds, that's what I use as my starting weight, because I can't tell you for sure how heavy I was at that time when I started. But I suspect I was somewhere, given the fact that from the 2-week mark to the 4-week mark, I lost 29 pounds.
Wow.
I can guess that I probably was somewhere between 330 and 335 actually when I started. So I noticed my pants were getting looser. My shoulder did not hurt as much. I could start to use my hands again, because when I first started the diet, this was about the best fist I could make. My hands were so locked up. And now, as everybody can see, my hands work just fine. And I noticed they were getting easier to use. I could open cans of things. I could use my manual can opener to open up those cans of Spam. Everything. It was literally everything got a little bit better in the first 30 days.
That's something. I have a lot of questions still, but I'm just wondering real quick.
Sure.
Are you mad at all? Because it's like every issue you had, you were basically given the exact opposite nutritional advice from what would have fixed you.
Well, sometimes I get a little angry about it, but the doctors at that time didn't know any better. And if you go to Dr. Google or your favorite search engine even today and type in gout diet, you will get the exact same handout that I got back in 1983. The first 15 to 30 results are going to be the same thing. So the doctors didn't really know any better, because as it turns out, doctors don't actually know everything there is to know about stuff, even though, people our age, we didn't grow up questioning doctors. But as far as angry, I'm a little disappointed. I sometimes wonder about where my life could have been if I had known about this 40 years ago. However, I do talk about this quite a bit, and I'm a big believer in the fact that everything that happens to us during our life makes us who we are. And I believe that right here, right now, I am where God wants me to spread this message of hope and healing to everybody that needs to hear it.
Right. Yeah. That's a wonderful message. That's kind of where I'm at too. We're on the same page there as well. I was only going to do one carnivore video, and it seems almost, well, I said it before, it was kind of like a passion. This is kind of fun, helping people out, and people are getting inspired by it. And then it's turned into more of like a responsibility. Like people deserve to know this. There's so many people out there just suffering. And some of them don't even realize to the extent that they're suffering. Brain fog and arthritis and aches and pains and ailments and depression, anxiety and sleep issues. I don't know, like, are you seeing things differently now, Bob, that you're, as a carnivore? I keep having these epiphanies, but I'm not shaming people or judging people. When you walk around, it's just like, wow, it's just like so many people are kind of in this fog, and they don't, it's like you and I have the answer. It's so simple. It's just the food you're eating. But how do you deal with that?
Yeah. When I first started, I was probably 4 months into it, and I wanted to tell people about this. And I tried to tell my friends, and they're like, oh, yeah, whatever. And one friend of mine in particular, she is literally the shape of an orange now. She's going to have really bad health problems coming up very soon, but people don't want to hear it. People just don't want to hear that they've been wrong their entire life. So the advice that I got from, I have to give credit where credit is due, it was Rachel at Two Crazy Ketos that said to me, you're going about it wrong. Don't be a foghorn, be a lighthouse. Just be the shining beacon on the hill that everybody can see. And eventually, when you get good enough at being a lighthouse, the ships that need help are going to focus in and come and ask, what in the heck have you been doing? I need some of that. And that's when you can talk to them about the carnivore diet.
Yes. Yeah, I love that advice. I heard Dr. Barry say something similar too. He was like, when you see someone on the side of the road and they're holding a sign up and they're saying, do this, It's like, how often do you go read that sign and then change your position on something like that? You really don't. You see someone, you see their example, and that's what inspires people. Not to change paths here, but that's the whole thing with the carnivore diet documentary we're doing is we don't want to tell people, oh, you should be doing keto or carnivore. It's just, no, here's examples of people with different health problems that are doing carnivore for a year, and you can do what you want with it. If you're having one of these things, you can maybe look at it and get inspired, and then maybe go down the Dr. Berry rabbit hole like you and I did if you want to. But putting that example out there, I've struggled with that too with friends and family when I was first starting carnivore. I'm like, there's no point in telling them. It's just here's the example, and do what you want. Yeah. So what about, well, you mentioned it a little bit, but so any friends or family or anyone nearby, just like you're just crazy doing this kind of thing, or?
Yeah, well, I have one friend. She's the orange-shaped gal. She keeps yelling at me that I should go get my liver scanned. And it's like, why? My liver markers are perfect. Well, she had a close relative that passed away because her close relative had a kidney transplant and then her liver failed. But if you do research into all that, you'll find that the anti-rejection meds that they put you on after you've had a transplant of some sort are very hard on your liver. So I'm guessing that she already had some fatty liver, and that got aggravated by the anti-rejection meds, and that's what caused her to go downhill and pass. But she's insistent, even though she's done no research at all on it, she is convinced that because that's why, that, because her close relative passed, that anybody that loses weight too fast is going to have that problem with their liver. And it's just not so. My liver markers are perfect.
Right. Well, her heart's in the right place. It's just,
yeah, her heart's in the right place. She's just badly misinformed. She hasn't spent, because as I'm sure you have as well, you still actually kind of work for a living. I don't. My name is semi-retired, but that comes from not being able to drive a truck anymore.
Right.
I am fully retired, and I've spent basically the last 15 months either making YouTube videos or watching YouTube videos. I'm confident that I've seen every video in Dr. Berry's library, every video in Dr. Chafee's library, everything that Jason Fung has put out, everything that Dr. Paul Mason has put out, and the list goes on and on and on. I've probably watched 5,000 or 6,000 videos.
Wow.
Of carnivore content from doctors and nutritionists, not the bad nutritionists, the dietitians, but the good ones that actually know what they're talking about. And I won't say I am an expert, but I think I probably know more about diet and nutrition than 95% of the country does now.
Right. That's another, well, I haven't watched anywhere near as many as you have, but my family would tell you that I've watched 5,000 carnivore videos. It's like, it's nonstop on our TV at home. They're like, enough already. Can we watch something other than carnivore? It's funny too. Like, I don't know why I continue to do it. I don't have all the answers, obviously, but I watch some of the same stuff where I already know like what's going to go on, but I don't know why. I just find it so interesting. I keep continuing to watch it. And like Dr. Berry's live streams, Dr. Chafee's too, a lot of times they'll ask a question and I'll already know it, but I still watch it just because those guys are just so amazing at those questions and answers. It's just like they hit it out of the park every time. And there's always a little bit of nuance or something else, I guess, that you pick up from it too.
Yeah. And that's part of why Dr. Berry started calling it the proper human diet. He was hopeful that it would hold off some of those questions that, well, I have this. Can I still do the proper human diet? Well, yes, you're a human, aren't you? Then you can do the proper human diet. But everybody still has to ask those questions. And I understand, because we have been literally inundated with the propaganda of big food and big pharma for decades now. And it's a known fact. If you walked out onto the street and said, pick 10 random people and ask them, does high cholesterol cause heart disease? They would say, of course it does. It's not true. There is no scientific evidence that shows cholesterol causes heart disease. Yet that's one of those things, just like meat causes gout, that everybody knows as fact when it's not actually fact.
Right. Yeah. That's been one of my big things on Carnivore, family reunions and get-togethers. Oh, Carrie, it's great you lost all that weight, but I want to see those LDL numbers. They're basically saying, I think you're going to die of a heart attack. And that was one of the biggest things I learned from watching all these carnivore videos. You're 6 times more likely to have heart disease or suffer from heart disease if you have poor metabolic health, which almost all of those people do. And that's exactly what I had and you had before going on carnivore. And nobody's worried about that. Nobody thinks about it or talks about it. It's 6 times more likely to give you heart disease than having elevated LDL numbers or whatever. There's so much nuance to those LDL numbers too that people don't account for. But yeah, that's so the gout, how is that better on carnivore? Or do you ever have flare-ups anymore? Or
I have not had a single gout attack since I started the carnivore diet. Now, I do understand from talking to other people that many people that have suffered with gout do have one more major attack when they first get started. And I think that's probably caused by the inflammation leaving their body. But because I had just had a big gout attack a couple of weeks prior to starting this, I think that may be why I did not. But I've not had a single problem with it. I mean, I started walking last September the 1st, and I haven't stopped. I've walked every day since.
So yeah, that was going to be my other question. So did you exercise at all to lose the weight, or did you start exercising after the weight was lost?
I would have to go back and look. I think it was about 85 pounds I was down in the first 4 months. It was September the 1st. I started on May the 9th. And then on September the 1st, I made that first Go Walking with Bob video. I literally walked down to the corner and back. It was about a 3.5-minute video. And that was the first time I did any kind of exercise because I couldn't. I mean, I was still healing. I was just getting over not being able to stand up for just a little bit. But I walked down to the corner and back. It was about a 3.5-minute video. And now I can walk down to the corner and back in less than 30 seconds. And they just kept growing and growing and growing. And by about the end of October, my videos were getting to be 25 and 35 minutes long because I was walking that far. So I have since stopped showing the entire video, but on September the 1st, it will be an entire year of doing daily walking videos.
Nice. Wow. So what about with the heart attack? That was before carnivore, obviously significantly before. How did that all go? And did you recover okay?
Yeah, I never actually had a heart attack.
Oh, okay.
I had a triple bypass surgery. This is actually kind of funny. I went to my doctor and said, I just don't feel right. So he ran some tests and said, well, let's try adjusting your blood pressure meds. Give me a call next week if you're not feeling any better. So we adjusted the meds and I went back to work and he said, okay, come on, Ann. And he hooked me up to an EKG and he's like, I don't really see anything on your heart, but I'm going to send you over to my buddy, the heart specialist, and have him take a look at you. So I left from his office, went over to Dr. Salfidi's office, who was my cardiologist. And he hooked me up and looked at some stuff and did the echo thing. And I don't know what all he did, but it was a long day in the office. And he said, well, I want to get you into the hospital for a what's the thing where they stick the wire up your artery and look at it?
A heart
angiogram. Yeah, an angiogram, which is what he wanted to do. He wanted to do a heart cath angiogram. And he said, I'd like to get you in tomorrow. And I said, well, tomorrow I was planning on going down to Texas because my Ohio State University Buckeyes are playing in a bowl game and I have tickets. And he's like, okay, well, we'll just schedule it for next Friday because I don't think there's anything seriously wrong. I think you just have a little bit of a blockage somewhere. and you'll be fine. We'll see you in a week. So he scheduled it for the next Friday. I got in there on Friday, and he still has no idea how I managed to walk into the hospital that day. A friend of mine took me, and of course I was knocked out, so I didn't see him, but he's a big old Indian guy. And John said that he was white as a ghost when he came out of the angiogram, out of the cath lab, because I had 2 arteries 100% blocked and 1 artery 98% blocked, all going to the same chamber of the heart. So I was literally 2% away from just falling over dead, and nobody would have ever known why. He doesn't know how I didn't have any symptoms other than just not quite feeling right, and how I managed to walk under my own power, not only to go down to the bowl game and walk around the stadium and get back and all that, but he was just amazed. And so I laid there in the hospital all weekend. They got me in for surgery on Monday afternoon, and Friday morning I walked back out of the hospital again. But I did never actually have a heart attack.
Okay. Really close to it though. But so have you noticed, this is kind of a weird question. Have you noticed any changes in your heart or standing up or anything since doing carnivore for the 15 months or so?
What do you mean? I mean, some people will call it palpitations, but I mean, I can feel my heart beating because it beats so much stronger now that it's running on ketones rather than sugar.
Yeah.
And when I'm doing, because I do a lot of exercising now, I can't sprint yet because my joints, I'm still learning how to run a little bit. If you watch me jog, it's kind of comical because I haven't been able to run for 30 years. So I'm still trying to teach myself how to make my joints move that fast, but I've been doing jumping jacks to try and build up some stamina. And when I get to about 25 to 30 jumping jacks, I can really feel, my whole body is pulsing with my heartbeat. But my blood pressure, because I wear a blood pressure watch, my blood pressure never goes too high, so I don't worry about it.
That was kind of what I was getting at. Like, so I have congestive heart failure, which sounds horrible, but it's just like a really slight version. I just have like a low ejection fraction. My heart can't quite keep up. So before carnivore, like when we were at church, you'd stand up and sing and you'd sit down. Every time I'd stand up, I was so thankful there was the pew in front of me because I'd get dizzy. And then I'd sit back down, I'd stand up, I'd get dizzy again. That's all gone on carnivore. And the other thing that I had was I've always had an irregular heartbeat. When I was in kindergarten, I had to put the big heart monitor on, and every couple of years they put the heart monitor on. A couple of years back, they thought I was having some AFibs, and I've had so many heart monitors on. I've always had this irregular heartbeat. And the other night, my wife and I were watching a movie, and she had her head kind of on my chest, and she's like, "Your heart's beating normally for the first time ever." And I got to go in for another appointment. I'm going to do that soon. I'll probably talk about it on a video, but I think that my irregular heartbeat for the first time is regular again. And what you just mentioned earlier, I know that now, but I didn't know that before carnivore, that your heart functions much more efficiently when you're in ketosis versus when you're burning garbage and sugar for fuel. I think I heard Dr. Ovadia maybe talking about that, but that was one thing that kind of upset me. I was like, because I had a heart catheter and I've had stress tests and I've had all sorts of stuff done on all sorts of heart medication. Talked to a regular cardiologist for years, and not that he would have said, "Oh, you don't care if you do carnivore or keto, we're going to fix your heart." But if I would have known that, hey, when your body's in ketosis, your heart functions much more efficiently, I would have been all over that because I've done keto on and off for years. But no one ever mentioned that to me. I just learned that, I don't know, probably 100 days into carnivore. So that was kind of interesting for me. It's like, that's kind of a big deal. And now I've done more research on it. I've heard other carnivores saying the same thing, where they had an irregular heartbeat and it's reversed it, or they had, I don't know if it's the low ejection fraction, but they get dizzy standing up and that doesn't happen anymore. So it's really kind of interesting. I think there's some studies on that too. And then how your brain functions powered when you're in ketosis versus burning sugar. There's some studies on that too that's really kind of interesting.
Yes, yes. And the other thing, do you do earthing or grounding, as some people call it?
So again, I'm very cynical, and I was like, this is just crazy. Uh, I think around day 50 doing carnivore, I went outside to let our chickens out, and I couldn't find my shoes. And it was a nice day out, so I just walked without my shoes on. I was like, this actually feels really good. And then I heard some people, I had it in a YouTube video, like, oh, you're grounding. And I didn't even really, I heard it, but I didn't really know what it was. So long story short, I did that every day. I stopped a couple times when I went to Alaska to visit Bill, obviously. But I did that every day for like 80 days. I take my shoes off first thing in the morning. Sunlight goes in the eyes. I don't have any natural light or my phone or a TV screen. And my feet touch the ground or the grass. And there is something to that because I feel amazing doing that. I'm kind of addicted to it. I try not to ever miss a day doing it.
Yeah, as Professor K says, when he first heard about it, it sounded like hippie crystal waving woo-woo stuff.
Yes, that was my thought exactly.
But there is actual research, and the thing that they have found that grounding for as little as a half hour a day can reduce the viscosity of your blood by 3 times.
Really?
Yeah, making it that much easier for your blood to circulate and get to all of the places.
Wow.
So that's one of the things that I've been on. It's been on my channel several times that, if you're not going out and sticking your feet in the ground for at least a half hour a day, you're missing out because it's very good for you.
Bob, I'm learning all of these things that I was missing out on pre-carnivore. So grounding is one of them. Getting the most amazing sleep of my entire life is another. But just getting up early and going outside, I feel bad. I'm so blessed where we live. We've got a 20-acre homestead. I know we're going to talk a little bit about homesteading and the place you're moving to too. But I used to sleep, like I would stay up really, really late and I would sleep in, and it's like it's a whole other world out there when you get up at 4:30, 5 in the morning, you see the sunrise, the birds are chirping, your feet are in the grass. It sure is something that, again, I try not to have any regrets either, but I enjoy it that much more every day. I do it now. I don't know what's going to happen. I told people I was stressing out a little bit. I'm like, when fall comes and then winter in Wisconsin, but I'm going to just tough it out and maybe do a little video every day like you do, going for a little walk and just get acclimated to it. It's colder and colder and colder and colder. It's like some Wim Hof stuff. I did that a couple times like 2 years ago, walking around in the snow for a little while, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I of course am not going to tough it out. I'm going to Texas for the winter. I'm not staying in Omaha. I gave that up several years ago. The last winter I spent in Omaha, we had you probably remember the cold snap of like 3 winters ago where the entire northern section of the country from North and South Dakota and the northern half of Nebraska plus some of Minnesota and Wisconsin had actual temperatures, not wind chill, but actual temperatures of minus 25 degrees for like 18 days straight. It was brutal. And that was the last winter I spent here, and I'm never spending winter here again.
Yeah. Every winter here in Wisconsin, I think the same thing, but it's harder for me to leave because I'm not semi or fully retired yet. We've got the movie theater and stuff, but yeah. So what part of Texas?
I'm about 16 miles northeast out of a little town called Van Horn, which puts it about 98 miles straight east of El Paso, Texas. So I'm out in the middle of the desert there in the far southwestern of Texas.
Okay. Yeah, we've got a lot of new friends down in Texas now with Shane and Amy. They're a blind couple. They're carnivores. They're thriving on carnivore. I just did a video with them a couple days ago, but they're in Texas. And I got to just say, not to change the subject, I want to talk more too about the homestead. Let me see here. Where is she? Sorry, I gotta give her credit here real quick.
No,
Mama Bear,
okay.
Mama Bear Lynette, and she has a question for you. Bob, what is your time frame for moving west, and are you creating the house and then hauling it over there or building it on site?
My time frame, I'm going down this year, probably end of October, 1st of November. I have a 5x10 cargo trailer that I've used as a camper for the last several years. I'm going down with that first. This first year, I'm basically going to sit there and hopefully watch it rain a couple of times to see where the low spots on the land are. But then once I figure out where the high spot is, I'm going to build a small foundation. It's right on the frost line area. It's either 0 frost line or 5 inches of frost line. I can't tell by looking at the maps, so I have to get down there and check stuff. But I'm going to build a small foundation, and because I'm living in a 5x10 cargo trailer, I figure a 20-foot shipping container is plenty big. My basic plan is to spot a shipping container on the land and then pack it around the outside with earth bags, put a roof over top of it, and then pack between the roof and the top of the shipping container with straw bales for more insulation, and then have a couple of air gaps between certain things. I'm going to do a thinsulate layer, a regular insulation layer, and then an earth bag layer. And I'm going to do all that on the outside, but it doesn't have to be super protected from the elements because I'm going to put like a 24 by 36 slanted roof over top of the 20-foot shipping container to collect rainwater to live on. And that roof will protect everything that I'm setting around the outside fairly well. I may have to spray it all down with some mud slip or something to keep the bugs out of it. But other than that, that's my time frame. I'm going to go down this fall. I'm hoping to sometime over the next 2 or 3 winters get it all built. We'll just have to see. Because I'm retired and on a fixed income, I only have just so much money to spend on stuff like that.
Right.
So everybody go subscribe to my YouTube channel and help that out.
Yes, everyone. I was going to say that too. We got almost 300 people on here now. Go subscribe to Bob's YouTube channel. It's excellent. And I'll get back to Mama Bear Lynette in a second.
Sure.
But here, let me just show this real quick. Man, I've seen your pictures before, but what an amazing transformation. That's just crazy. So yeah, you're posting all the time. So everyone go check out Semi-Retired Bob on YouTube and subscribe and give him some love. Click this little subscribe button right there. So I just wanted to say real quick, and also the link is in the description below. Mama Bear Lynette is awesome. Not to change the subject. I don't know if she's been on your channel before, Semi-Retired Bob, but she's commented a lot on my videos, and she's near. So I just mentioned briefly earlier, Shane and Amy, the blind carnivores, they started a YouTube channel, and they did a GoFundMe because they were kind of struggling to get meat. And Mama Bear Lynette, I don't know if she wanted me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyways, is awesome. She's brought, let's show you guys this picture. Hopefully you can see it.
I have to look over to I have to look over to my big monitor, but yes.
She brought these, Shane and Amy, she brought them all of this food and just gave it to them, took them to their house. Just an amazing person. So huge shout out to Mama Bear Lynette. You are awesome. They were so excited. So Shane and Amy texted me earlier and they were just elated, so happy. And they're like, did you see that picture? They're so excited. So you're awesome. Thank you so much. Actually, while we're on Mama Bear Lynette, she had another question here. Bob, what food item would you consider your kryptonite?
Pizza.
Yeah.
I haven't given into it. I keep it at bay by keeping stuffed full of meat, but I still occasionally get that urge to go get a pizza, but I don't because I know how it'll make me feel.
Now, have you had any sort of, I guess, cheat days or anything like that in the 15 months or so?
I wouldn't really call it a cheat day. Last Thanksgiving, because I was going to a cousin's house and it was loaded with cousins that I had not seen in decades. I had planned on having a dessert while I was there. Well, I couldn't decide between the pecan pie and the pumpkin spice cake, so I had each. And then without even realizing it, while we were standing around the kitchen talking before we all loaded back up in Barb's car to go back to her house so I could get in my truck and drive back home, I didn't even realize that I'd picked up a second piece of that pumpkin spice cake and was munching on that. So I had 2 pieces of cake and a piece of pie that day. But the reason I say my diabetes is completely cured is because after that last piece of cake, and I had already stuffed myself. I mean, they had ham and turkey and 4 different kinds of brisket. I mean, there was plenty of just meat to eat. And I was pretty stuffed, but I had those 3 desserts. And 2 hours later is when I got back to my trailer parked out at the church parking lot. I thought, well, I'm just going to see where it's at. And I did a finger stick, and my blood glucose 2 hours later was at 86. So I'm getting a normal insulin response, so I don't worry too much about it. But other than that, I did not have anything for my birthday, my 60th birthday, which was back in May. But then the next weekend, I had some friends over, and I did eat a little piece of cake that they had brought. And I didn't feel great the next day. And it was just a few bites of cake.
Yeah.
So basically, I don't. You know, for me, cheating on carnivore is having some cheese or having a sausage and shrimp meal instead of just beef or pork.
Right. All right. So let's see. I had some other questions here.
Sure.
If you could, here's the thing. I've got so many people on my channel that are considering carnivore, but they're just terrified to do it. What would your advice be to someone like that?
Just do it. What do you have to lose? You've tried everything else. You can do anything for 30 days if you have to. Even in the condition I'm in, I think if I had to, I could stand on my head as long as I had a wall to support me. I could stand on my head for 30 days. And what's the very worst thing that can happen? You might get a little diarrhea. If it is truly as bad for you as people say it is, maybe your cholesterol goes up a point or 2. But what if it is the magic pill for you? I'm not saying it is, because everybody is different. But you won't know unless you try. Just give it a try for 30 days. 15 months ago, I was sitting on my couch watching TV waiting to die. Now I've bought a piece of land in Texas and have plans to go down there and build a house that's going to require a lot of manual labor. I walk every day. I do my own yard work in Omaha. I cut my own grass. I go to the YMCA and work out 4 days a week. What have you got to lose? Just give it a try. You can do, I mean, you could go on the grapefruit diet for 30 days if you had to. I don't recommend that, by the way. That's a terrible diet. I tried that once back in the 80s.
Been there, done that.
But you can try. You can do anything for 30 days. Give carnivore a 30-day try just to see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I always tell people too, change the framework in your brain, because even me, I was like, oh, carnivore sounds too scary, but just tell yourself this: I'm just going to do an elimination diet for 30 days and get rid of the sugar, the carbs, the processed stuff. It's the same thing as doing carnivore, but if you tell yourself you're doing an elimination diet to get rid of that stuff, it's a little bit more easy to stomach for some people, I think. But so on the homestead, that's so exciting. Or your project, are you going to be YouTubing all of that going forward?
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna record it all. I don't know exactly what my internet solution down there is going to be yet. It looks like I'm right on where my property is. I'm right on the line between what T-Mobile calls their regular 5G versus their extended 5G. So if I can get one of those T-Mobile home boxes to work out there, that's what I'm going to do. But I know if all else fails, I can get Starlink. It's
Right.
just T-Mobile is $50 a month as opposed to $125 a month for Starlink.
Sure.
So I
Well,
want to get down there first.
yeah, that's so exciting. Well, I'm excited for us viewers to be able to watch you build it all. I'm a little hesitant for you just knowing it always makes it so much more challenging. But I'm so glad I did it with our homestead projects. I for 8 years, I think we did like 600 videos. And so many times I'm like, I don't want to pull out the camera. I just want to build this chicken coop or something without videoing it for one time. But I'm so thankful I did in retrospect, and to kind of be able to see the progress and look back. It's kind of good, kind of fun memories to look back on too. I can't think of this. I'll send it to you afterwards, Bob. I wish I could give you more tips and advice on homesteading. I I always tell people we were like city slickers, and a lot of my channel was like, hey, see all the mistakes I make and learn from the mistakes versus like there's some other guys out there that are really good and they've been doing it for years and their father told them how to do it and things like that. But there's a really good channel I watched of this guy, and I'll send it to you after the video. I can't remember his name, but he's kind of out in the desert and he's done stuff with shipping containers and water catchment and things like that. You might have seen him already, but I'll shoot you that afterwards. He does a really good job.
One of the channels I watch religiously is they call themselves the Green Dream Project.
Oh, okay.
They're building a double earth bag dome. It's like 20 feet around and 20 feet high.
Wow.
And I'm not going to take on something that ambitious. It's going to be enough work. I feel comfortable by myself filling up earth bags to prop up against the shipping container to use those as a baseline of insulation.
Right.
But I don't feel confident enough in my abilities to build an entire house out of them and not have it fall down on me.
Sure.
Which is why I'm putting a shipping container in the middle as the base for everything.
Right. Well, it's good baby steps too. You get that built, and then you're like, oh, I could use a little bit more space, and you add on another shipping container or build it out from there.
But yeah, that's why I'm planning a very large roof over top of it all, so that at 24 by 36 feet, that'll leave me a place to park my truck and my camper trailer underneath the front eaves. The back section where it's lower, I'm going to try and make like a back porch area where I can sit out and enjoy the evenings. But then I'll have a whole nother like 16 feet on the side that I could either jam another shipping container under or build some sheds or whatever I want underneath of that.
That's
so
nice.
I'll be able to build a lot of stuff underneath the big roof. Plus that big of a roof should catch about 2,000 gallons of water per inch of rain.
Nice. That's exciting. The last big project I did on the homestead was maybe 2 months ago. My daughter Emma and I built just a ridiculously large wood shed. And the roof we built sounds very similar to the one you're describing. I think it was about maybe 25 by 30, and it was a lean-to style. So it's just this big, huge lean-to roof. But I haven't added the rain catchment yet. I have that in some other parts of our property. We've got the big IBC totes that are always getting topped off. But yeah, that was a fun project. And so one of the things I did, I don't know if you're doing this with yours or not, but something that's really helped me with the various projects on the homestead over the years is using Google SketchUp. It might be kind of overkill for what you're doing, but I don't know if you've ever used that. It's just it's a free tool for like 3D rendering. And it's very user friendly. So like with this, we called it the ultimate woodshed. It's really simple. Like you really don't need a 3D rendering, but then on the other hand, it's really nice because it'll give you a full cut list. It'll be like, oh, we need exactly this many pieces of plywood, and we're going to do the 2x8s this far apart and everything. And then I was able to do it afterwards and be like, oh, okay, now we can fit the truck on this side and we have this much space and this much space. So it's kind of a fun thing. It actually helped me out way more on our greenhouse build that we did, because we did kind of a unique greenhouse with like a gambrel style roof, but gave me a full cut list. And I went to the big Menards and just basically like I need this many 2x4s, I need this many nails, just went off of the 3D design. So it's kind of fun.
And that's called SketchUp.
SketchUp, yep. Yeah, and it's nice. They used to charge for it, but it's free. Google owns it now. It's Google SketchUp, and they have an online version. And if you just watch a couple of YouTube videos, it's very user friendly. So you can like building like the back wall of our woodshed. You do 1 2x4, and then it's basically copy and paste. And you put in like 16 for 16 inches on center, and then you do like times 20, and then you got the whole back wall built up. But you can flip it all around and zoom in and out and everything. So I kind of liked it too from the YouTube perspective, because I would show it on YouTube and be like, oh, we're building a chicken coop. Here it is. And then you could show the 3D design, the ideas. And then some people will comment too, which is really helpful a lot of times. Carrie, you should have done the roof overhang on this side instead of that, or done this instead of that. And you got the 3D rendering before you start building it, so you can kind of change things up. Every time I've done that too, I've always had something where it's like, I'm glad I did this 3D design, because I didn't think about this one thing that I can now see in the design. And then you can kind of change things up before you actually get out there and build it, or waste some money on the material.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, that's going to be a big one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Plus it's just a lot of fun playing around with that thing, especially once you start getting you're going to get the house up, and then you get the roof up, and then you're like, oh, maybe we do a chicken coop or another building or something. You'll still have that file. And then you can be like, well, what would the chicken coop look like over here versus over there? And you can just always pull it up. It's just online. So
yeah, I am planning on having some livestock. Not right away, because I'm still moving between Omaha and Texas. But once I feel like I've got the house, once it's fully insulated with earth bags and straw and the roof is built, I feel like it's set up that I can take a summer in Texas desert without using, thousands of kilowatts of hours to run the air conditioner, because I'm not going to have that big of a solar system. But once the way I'm going to insulate it, it shouldn't take much to keep it fairly nice in there year round. At that point, I'm going to abandon Omaha and move to the Texas desert for good. And at that point, because you can't really put chickens and goats and pigs and maybe even a cow or two on a property unless you're committing to being there all the time to feed the animals.
Yeah. Oh, I know that for sure. 8 years on our homestead now. We're going on vacation the end of this year. It was such a task, like arranging people to come watch the goats and the chickens and stoke. We got the big outdoor wood burner, which we heat our whole property by. So we got to have someone stoke that throughout the winter. But luckily, we've got some really good family that's offered to come over for some time. But yeah, well, that's going to be exciting. I just imagining your YouTube videos, abandoning Omaha, heading down to Texas. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
So the solar setup too, I wasn't even thinking about that. So are you going to be completely off grid and it's just going to be solar?
Yeah, just solar. I actually just I just did a video on it a couple of days ago. I got an Oaks 2400 all in one. I'm not going to build my own yet, because for the first winter down there, I just need something big enough that I can run my freezer and my refrigerator in my camper off of it with just solar. And I ran the experiments. I could actually run the freezer upstairs in my house for almost 3 days on this thing, because it's got 2,400 watts. But it'll run my camper freezer for about 8 days and my camper refrigerator for about 16 days. So I figure between the two of them, I can count on 7 days. And that's with no power coming in. Well, I have 400 watts of solar that I'm going to build a little rack and set up. And I can't imagine that even in the wintertime, there's going to be more than a day and a half without some sunshine in the Texas desert, because looking at all of the weather maps and things for that area, it averages 316 days of sunshine a year and only has measurable snowfall 2 days every 5 years.
Wow.
So I should be able to run everything on solar very easily. And it's not that expensive. The power station I got, I can actually hook up to 1,000 watts of solar into it.
Okay.
So once the roof is built, I could buy 4 or 5 big solar panels and put them up there.
Right.
And and that would be enough for that. And I could even get a second one. The reason I went with the one I went with is because, if you look at the Jackery expandable systems or the Blue Eddies and all that,
Yep.
those are $3,000 to $4,000 for something that big. This one, it's an off-brand, but it was $1,200 on sale.
Right. That's so
And
cool.
that's 50 cents a watt as opposed to about $1 to $1.25 a watt for the good brands. And it seems to be working just fine. I've only been testing it for a week, like I said, and I got the one tool I purchased that was a plug-in rather than a DeWalt battery powered. I did buy a good circular saw, but it's a plug-in. But I plugged it into this thing and it runs with no trouble at all because it's got a 2400 watt inverter with a peak 4000 draw. So I plugged my air fryer into it just to check it too. And if I wanted to, I could take my air fryer with me and run that off the battery as well.
That's great. One thing I'm happy with, so I've been meaning to get our homestead over to solar, and I've slowly been doing it. So we built an off-grid dog kennel, and it's fully powered by solar. And we have, I think it's the Blue Eddy. But maybe this is something you can do, Bob. I have a couple people I've talked to. So I'm so fortunate and blessed. But the Blue Eddy that we have, a company sent to us, and they're like, if you do an honest review, you show it on YouTube, and you link to us, you can have it. So and there's quite a few companies competing with them now. I think we've had two other ones that sent us those in the meantime. Like one of them is basically like this big. It's got 220 volts. You can plug into it. You can plug the solar panels in. You can bring it in the house if you have grid power to just quickly top it off. You can charge it in your car too. The technology and the prices of those things have just, I'm so glad I waited because I was going to do it like 20 years ago. And I'm going to wait forever and never do it because I'm so cheap, but the prices just keep coming down on some of that stuff too. But with a big project like that, maybe you could eventually get someone that'll throw one in for you if you're willing to show it on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. If anybody's watching, I am open to that. But yeah, like I said, I did the OPS review. A couple of friends of mine have channels that are sponsored by Jackery, and I really like Jackery products, but they're so expensive compared to what I purchased. Right. I mean, their new Pro Series, you can buy multiple batteries and stack them up, and they all plug together. So you basically end up with a 6 or 7 kilowatt hour system, which would be plenty to run an entire homestead on. But I don't have, if I had $10,000 to plunk down on a solar system, I could buy a real solar system with, a Tesla wall and all that kind of stuff and never have to worry about it. But I don't have that kind of money. So I just have to slowly build up as I go, right. Which is what I'm doing. My YouTube channel right now, I'm starting to make a couple of dollars a month. I actually broke even last month. So I'm hoping to actually make $1 or $2 this month, because it's, as you well know, it's not free by the time you pay for editing software and equipment and factoring your time and the StreamYard software and Zoom and everything else you need to do it properly. It takes quite a bit of money to run a YouTube channel.
Yeah. Yeah. People don't realize it. And time. Oh my goodness, the time. Lots of time. Not even just to upload sometimes, but the editing and the back and forth and then the thumbnails and the descriptions. It's a full-time job by itself. But I love the approach you're doing too. Like if you're going to drop down 10 grand and get it, most people starting a homestead don't have the 10 grand to buy a whole solar system. They got to work their way into it like that. So it's going to be that much more useful for people watching your YouTube channel too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I do still have a little bit of time if you wanted to get into the comments and see if there's any questions over there.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. I can't believe it's already been an hour.
I can't actually read them that well. As I tell everybody on my channel during my live streams, when I'm looking over here, I'm not ignoring you. Just my big monitor is over here, so I can read comments over here. Yep. But my camera is over top of my laptop, and my laptop screen's way too small to read anything on.
Right. Yeah, I can't believe it's been an hour already. There's a couple questions here. So here's one. Bob, who has been the best interview you've done with? What was the best advice you got from them? From Judy, Ziggy Stoy Beach.
Well, if you look at my channel, you will find the cover photo for my playlist of interviews has a picture of Dr. Barry on it. I did an hour-long interview with Dr. Barry, and there's lots of good information. But to actually say the best advice I got from Dr. Barry is everything. I mean, he's the man that started me on this journey. And I have gotten confirmation from all of the other videos I've watched, but Dr. Barry taught me everything I know about carnivore. But the best advice I got from him is do a proper human diet.
Yep. All right. And then we answered this one already. That was Mama Bear. You said the pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Craig Smith. Great research, Carrie. Glad you know where Bob is from. I actually did know Bob was from Omaha, but I'm trying to ask questions because there's a lot of people on my channel that might not be familiar with Bob yet. So go subscribe to Bob's channel for sure. Low Carb Carnivore said, I would still love to be in your doc. I just started things today to record my journey. If you still have room, I'd love to be a part of it. Please go to it's carnivoredietmovie.com and you can register for free. And yes, we're still definitely want more people for that. Question for Bob. Will you be doing any sardine prep videos sometime soon?
No.
Quick one. Mama Bear Lynette said, Bob, I'm going to have spinal fusion surgery over Thanksgiving. What advice would you give me?
If you're not doing 100% carnivore now, do that. If you're already doing carnivore, go to Lion Diet, just beef, salt, and water from now until then. And perhaps you won't need the spinal fusion surgery. I can't say that. I'm not a doctor, but I've had spinal stenosis, and they were talking about that for me. And now I don't have any problems. Other than that, if I don't know your situation, but if you absolutely have to have the spinal fusion surgery, just keep yourself on carnivore diet as best you can so that you'll heal as quickly as possible, and find out ahead of time what your limitations are going to be so that you can have things set up around the house to help you recover from that surgery.
Great advice. Bill, just a quick shout out. Hey, Carrie and Bob. Hi, everyone. Bill is just hit 30 days on carnivore. I'm so happy for him. And he's trying to load his 30-day video now. So maybe after this, everyone go subscribe to Semi-Retired Bob, watch his videos. And then when Bill gets his video up, everyone should go check that out. And then Carnivore Today, Bob and Carrie, two of my favorite people. Adam's awesome from Carnivore Today.
He's great. I've been meaning to try and get something set up with him, but as you well know, I mean, it took us, 2 months to get this put together?
Yeah.
Our schedules are not exactly what you'd call easy.
Right. Carrie, when did you notice your depression or anxiety go away on carnivore? I think it was around day 50. I started to notice it significantly. And like around day 100, I had a video with Dr. Chafee, and he said, Carrie, it's going to get better for you. Things are going to get even better. And I thought he was exaggerating, but by day 100, I felt even better. I was telling people my face, I used to hold all my tension in my jaw. I'd grind my teeth at night. I was always gritting my teeth. And like around day 100 or so, it changed where I noticed I'm just smiling now, and it's just loose and normal, probably like a human should be. But my whole life I always held the tension there. So I always tell people, though, it could be drastically different for you, depression, anxiety. I did keto on and off before that, and that also helped me slightly with it. But to Bob's earlier point, I couldn't moderate on keto, and I would just end up gaining all the weight back. So carnivore is the only thing that's really worked for me. Oh, that was a different question. Let's see.
Yeah, that's Addicted to Antlers and Craig Smith. They have little verbal battles in my comments every day. They're two of my biggest subscribers. I love them
nice.
both, but they love to poke fun at each other.
Well, he said, what will Bob do for water in Texas? I don't know if that was a question or if he's poking fun.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm taking it with me. I have a 55-gallon drum in my trailer. And when I get down there, I'm going to start by buying a couple of IBC totes to get a quick 600 gallons of storage. And then over the course, probably not the first winter, but the second winter, I'm going to actually try to dig by hand with a shovel about a 3,000 or 4,000 gallon underground cistern.
Nice.
And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to harvest my own rainwater, and that's what I'm going to live off. If I have to run into town, it's only 16 miles into town. If I have to run into town and buy some bottles of water, so be it.
It's going to be exciting watching your journey over there. That's worthy of a YouTube channel almost on its own, but to kind of see both of the content, that's going to be great. So
yeah, well, and that's where I want to go with it, to basically remind people, remember, I'm out here digging this hole. 2 years ago, I couldn't even stand up.
Yeah.
This is why you need to do the carnivore diet.
Right. What an amazing transformation. Just not only that, the fact that you're doing it, but just you've probably added 2 more lives on compared to what you had before. It's just it's amazing. And lives that are worth living, where you're feeling good and feeling great and not miserable anymore. It sure is something.
Yeah, I'm quite confident that if I had continued on the path that I was on the day before my 59th birthday, I would not have been here to see my 60th birthday last May.
Right. Well, I can't believe it's an hour and 11 minutes already. This just flew by. This was a lot of fun. I encourage everyone from my channel, if you haven't heard of Semi-Retired Bob, go check out his channel. There's a link in the description below. I've got it scrolling on the bottom of the screen. And Bob, just real quick, I wanted to invite you too. We're doing that 24-hour carnivore live stream, and definitely want to have you there. So if you're available, you got 24 hours. So it's September 16th, 8 a.m. Eastern is when we're starting it for 24 hours. I'm going to be there the full 24 hours. So even if you can only jump on for 5 minutes or whatever, I'll shoot you some info if you're available.
Yeah,
We'd love to have you.
shoot me the info. I don't think I'll be traveling south by then, so shoot me the info. We'll set up a time for when I'm going to be there, and I'll plan on at least cutting you out a half hour that day, but however much time you want. As I posted, I don't know if you saw, I posted a short the day of your last big 10-hour live stream, and I canceled. I was supposed to have a live stream of my own because I do my live streams on Fridays, and I canceled it that day and put a short up that said that he's working on getting this movie thing together. It's really important work, so I'm canceling my live stream today so that everybody can go watch this thing, because I think what he's doing over there is that important. So yeah, whatever you need me to do on that 24-hour one, count me in. If you need some help on something with the movie, count me in. Don't know how much help I'll be on any of that, but I'm happy to try.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I did see that short, and thank you so much for that. That was great. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We've already got Dr. Baker, Dr. Chafee, and Dr. Ovadia, and Dr. Kilt said beforehand he'd probably be able to go. So I'm hoping we can get Dr. Barry too. I sent him a message as well. And then there's just a bunch of, we're trying to have a world record gathering of carnivore YouTubers, carnivores that are just starting out that have questions. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have different sessions throughout, like aging on carnivore and mental health on carnivore, women's health on carnivore, things like that. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it, but I'll send you some more info on that for sure.
Sure.
But do you want to shout anything else out? We got your YouTube channel. You're on Instagram too. I know that. Anything else?
I have an Instagram that I sort of use. If I remember it's there, I'll take a picture of my food and upload it. I don't really do a whole lot on Instagram, except when I'm scrolling through and find the great thing of the day that Dr. Baker's put up, I'll repost that onto my story. I do have a free Facebook group. So if you're looking for support or want to ask questions or any of that kind of stuff, it's Semi-Retired Bob on Facebook. It's absolutely free. Stop on in and ask your questions. I approve pretty much everybody unless you're obviously doing something dumb. But yeah, I think that's all I've got. Yeah, just my YouTube channel. I do have an Instagram that I barely use, and I have a Facebook group.
All right. Sounds good. So everyone go check out Semi-Retired Bob on YouTube. Subscribe, give him some love. Really inspiring story. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm glad we finally got to talk, and I look forward to talking to you more and doing the live stream together and maybe doing some more videos together in the future for sure.
Sure. Just give me a holler. You got my email address. Anytime you want to do something, just let me know. Thanks for having me here today, Carrie. I really appreciate it. And again, like I said before we went live, everybody needs to be watching you because you're doing good work.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Bye.